Good evening, very warm welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show and our usual Monday night roundup. I'm Chris Bell. Delighted to say I'm joined, as always, by Gareth Walker and by Stephen Downs. Good evening, gents. How are we doing?
I'm all right, mate.
Hello.
You?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Don't forget, you can get in touch with us here on the West Yorkshire Football Show over the course of the evening. You can get your comments in through X and through YouTube as well. You can smash a like on our Facebook page, and the QR code in the top left-hand corner as well will also take you directly to X if you are not already following us. So, gents, it's a bit of a League One theme, I guess, with it being us three that are holding the fort this evening. We will come on to Leeds United before we wrap up as well, and we'll also have a video review of the non-league scene from Lewis Sale to come. But yes, League One is where it's at, and I suppose we better start at the top of League One with Gaz and Bradford City seeing off Blackpool at the weekend by 1-0. And it was, look, we said before, it might not necessarily be a particularly easy game. Blackpool had picked up one or two results prior to the weekend, despite a pretty bad start. And yeah, job done, keeps you going, continuing top of the table.
Yeah, I must say a little disclaimer before I talk about the game. I wasn't at the game. I haven't missed a Saturday home game for a heck of a long time, but I was at the Oasis gig in London on Saturday, so I missed it. So I can only go off what I've read and what people have said. And I think we should start with Graham Alexander. Graham Alexander came out afterwards and said that was our best win of the season so far. And I think what he was getting at there was the fact that we didn't play particularly well. We came up against a team that came to make it difficult rather than came to play football. And on top of that, we'd just come back from Newcastle on the Wednesday night, where we'd got absolutely played off the park, really. Obviously, normally when we play a midweek game, it'll be a Tuesday, not a Wednesday. But that was a Wednesday night, so we had one less day's recovery as well. So he said that getting through that game and the way that obviously Blackpool came to play, or not to play, should we say, was our best win of the season so far. When I say Blackpool didn't come to play, from what I can gather, they actually created quite a few chances, especially in the first half. I wouldn't not necessarily had the better of the play, but had an equal amount of the play. And then I think they had, from what Jason said in his width of a post-match report, they had 3 decent chances at the start of the second half. One that Ashley Fletcher probably should have done better with. And even Steve Bruce said, their manager, after the game, that the game changed when we scored. It's a goal that comes from Bobby Poynton, puts a cross into the back post, and Josh Nerfville, who obviously we've talked about a lot on the pod, big signing from Wimbledon in the summer, done really, really well for us. I know Downsy was impressed when he played against Town. He scored his 3rd goal in 3 games, so he's now adding goals to his game, as well as getting up and down that right-hand side, defending, attacking, assisting. He's got 3 in 3. And then I think that, yeah, from what I can gather, the game changed on that moment, really, and City with a better side. That goal came on 50, 55 minutes. And for the rest of the game, I believe City dominated and probably should have added more goals to the game. And, yeah, it's a win that sees us stay top of the league. I know that Cardiff can go, I think, level on points with us. I think Stevenage can perhaps go level or 1 point above, a couple of points above us. But the run continues, and we've come through a test against a side, like I say, that didn't really come to dominate the ball like the sort of the better supposed more fancied teams did. You know, your Lutons, your Towns come and want to dominate the ball. Blackpool didn't want to do that. Bruce came, played 4-4-2, very physical, very in your face football like we play, and we've come through it like we did against Wimbledon. So that's another tick in the box, and it's another tick in the box bouncing back again after a disappointing result, although probably fully expected defeat up at Newcastle in midweek.
I mean, that's it, off the back of, as you say, that difficult game. But it was a game at Newcastle in particular where, obviously, I think you were surprised by the fact that there was probably more changes in the Bradford lineup than there were in the Newcastle side. But to kind of come through that, you know, with the kind of the way it ended up in terms of an easy enough win for Newcastle, to be able to come back from that and get a league win is just a tonic ready to kind of set you up to go for future weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I've not done a match review for Saturday because obviously I wasn't at the game, but I said in my match review for the Newcastle game, they'd actually made 5 changes in their league game that they had prior to the City Cup game, and then they brought all those players back in against us. So there was a bit of a misleading social media post from Bruno Guimaraes, actually. He'd basically hinted that he was having a week or so off but he played, and Joe Linton played, and Anthony Gordon played, and to be honest with you, I'm being brutally honest, Newcastle could have had 10. They played us off the park. They played really, really well. We obviously made, like I said, probably more changes to our starting lineup than they did. Nick Powell played, and a few other players that you wouldn't expect to play played. Kieran Kelly, Neil Byrne, Stephen Humphries played and was quite disappointing. You'd expect him to try and take his chance, given that he seems to have lost his place in the pecking order to Will Swanee. A little bit disappointing, but yeah, to put the shift in that they did up there on Wednesday night. Obviously, Cookie got his goal, which was a massive boost for all the City fans, for him himself. But yeah, to bounce back after that performance and being run ragged was a real testament to the lads and the players that came back into the side. It's an interesting point. Again, I made it in the post-match. Graham Alexander commented in his post-match interview after Newcastle that Blackpool was our biggest game of the week. Now, that is a sea change from what has kind of been hinted at previously, and it just makes you wonder. He actually alluded to that 3 times in his post-match interview after Newcastle, that Blackpool was the biggest game of the week, and basically saying that our focus is on the league. And it just makes you wonder if, given our start to the season, there is maybe a change in belief about what we can do this season, and perhaps building on what we've already done and seeing just how far we can go and how long we can keep this run going for, because we are doing a lot better than anyone expected us to do, even probably the most optimistic of City fans. And we're playing really, really well. We're playing some good stuff, and touch wood, so far we're ticking the results off.
I mean, let's just look at the league table of the front runners in the division so far. And
oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
Don't worry, Steve. I've got the full top half of the table to come later on. But you know, the league's front runners, as it were, at this stage, and as I say, it's a superb start. And look, you said that you kind of got the impression that maybe things, you know, the view might be changing, kind of from Graham Alexander in terms of what the season can be for Bradford. But actually, do you reckon that was actually there all along within the squad? It's just, you know, he's not going to come out and say publicly, yes, we're going to go and challenge you at the top end of the title. But do you reckon, in that dressing room, that actually there's been a thought that with that momentum of promotion last season, that why not go again and aim for promotion? And whilst it is probably better than a lot on the outside expected so far, maybe within, this is kind of the start that they were thinking they could make.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, they did go on record in the summer saying we're not just here to make up the numbers. We believe we can compete. And Stefan Rupp's quoted that our budget, that the money he's added in to the budget makes it a playoff budget. Graham Alexander has also said he was asked now that we're 10 games in, what do you think of the league table? And he's not getting drawn on it. You know, he said that the standard line of it doesn't matter until we've played 46 games. But I believe there probably was a belief in the squad that we've got characters in there that are experienced, that have been there and done it. And like you said, we're building on the momentum that we ended last season with. So, yeah, there probably is. I don't think you probably I doubt you walk into many dressing rooms, particularly those that are doing well near the top of the league, and say they don't believe they can do it. They probably do. There probably is belief in there, Chris. And for the City fan base, you know me, I'm tentative at the best of times when it comes to predicting what's going to happen. But I've always said that staying up was our main aim. Some City fans would probably say that top half finish or around mid-table and they'd have been happy. But the longer this goes on, the City fans are going to buy into what we're doing, and the belief's going to increase. And if the belief is already there in the dressing room, then hopefully we can just keep, like I said, just keep it going and build it and build it and build it. We've just got to be careful that if we do hit a sticky run, which will likely come at some point, we just remember where we were 18 months ago, and we keep that in mind and realise how far we've come, and don't get on the players' back and don't get on the managers' back, and it doesn't get all toxic again just if we lose a couple of games or hit a bad run, because we've come a hell of a long way and we're doing really, really well at the moment.
Honestly, everything at the moment is setting up come October the 11th when it's that Bradford Lincoln game. If again with another league game in between for each of us, it's I'm rather excited about that game.
Yeah, we were talking before we went on air, weren't we, Chris? About there's been a few little rumours. Mainly, I've seen it from the Lincoln end. I don't think City fans have said it like that, about international call-ups and maybe there'll be there's a chance that the game might be postponed. That's why I was actually asking you, wasn't I? Like how many players Lincoln might lose. Because I don't think City will lose anybody. I really don't.
I think with Lincoln, I think it's mostly kind of one or two of the fringe players. And I think it's that would you rather kind of perhaps not have the depth on the bench that we would do normally, but play the game and avoid the fixture backlog, or postpone it and have the squad at full strength sort of thing. But as I say, I mean, I saw a couple of days or so ago, I think it was the Cardiff Barnsley game, maybe. Bear with me, I'll just double check.
Sounds like they're crapping themselves a Lincoln, Gaz, for me. If
Barnsley was postponed 3 days ago. So you would kind of think if it was going to be postponed, it probably would have been done by now. It also probably would have been done before tickets went on sale for it. Because if it is postponed now, after I bought my tickets, I'll be rather upset.
Yeah, although you would be one of the few, the luckier Lincoln fans, given that you actually live in Bradford. So,
yeah.
Go on, guys. Get into him, guys.
But I can see that. You probably got an element of it that because both teams are doing reasonably well, they probably both want to play it while they're in good form. You probably that's the way I'd look at it from either club's perspective. Should be a great day. Like I say, especially if both teams continue playing how they are. Like I said, I don't think many. It'll be a case of, I think we said last week, who gets their way of not having the ball, because it sounds like that Lincoln and City both have one of the lowest percentage possession rates in the country at the moment.
Yeah, just to keep that up, I think I mentioned last week that we had like 43% possession at home against Luton, and won 3-1. Just to keep that up, Lincoln went to Peterborough at the weekend. Lincoln had just under 36% of the ball, and we won 3-0.
3-0, yeah.
Might as well not be a ball on the pitch, lads, when you lads play. Just do rock, paper, scissors and decide who wins.
I think as well, like, you're probably looking at like the injuries that teams have. I know we've had a few, but touch wood, we're starting to get players back. I think we've just got Baldwin out at the moment. Everyone else has started to come back. Ian's asked about Callum Kavanagh in the comments. Now, Callum Kavanagh has been out all season with a shin injury. And I believe that every time they've tried to phase him back into training, he's kind of like felt it again. There was I can't remember 100% what was said. There was an update in the TNA from Simon Parker last week, which indicated that he's finally making a little bit of progress. Like I said, because every time he tried to step up his training before, it hadn't worked and he had to sit back out again. The thing is with Callum Kavanagh is he's a centre forward, and I struggle to see where he did well towards the end of last season, obviously, when he was our only option and we didn't have Andy Cook. But Will Swan, Andy Cook, and probably Stephen Humphreys are all ahead of him right now, so we don't need to rush him. I would say if he's getting closer, we'd probably see him play in the Virtue Motors first. I would guess it'd be something like that. I don't see him being thrown straight back in for a league game. But yeah, there was a slight, I can't remember the exact wording, but there was a hint of positivity for the first time in a while in an article last week saying that he's probably closer than he has been all season so far.
Didn't you've created a new cup there, Gaz? The
Virtue Motors Trophy.
I thought it was just the Virtue Trophy. Is it the Virtue Motors? It was Bristol Motors.
It's the car sales company, Virtue Motors, Virtue Trophy, whatever.
I've got it wrong. Sorry, guys, I'll shut up.
Are you all right, mate?
I think it was the Bristol Street Motors. I think they then got either taken over or rebranded to Virtue or something like that.
Fair enough. I've just known it as the Virtue Trophy, to be honest.
Same difference, same tournament that nobody really matters about until you get to like the knockout stages anyway. I mean, going forward, Gaz, we've touched on the fact that obviously on Thursday night, isn't it? You got Rotherham United away, and it's a telly game, and it's been moved for the telly specifically away at Rotherham United. What are we thinking? I mean, obviously it's Yorkshire Derby. They're expecting it to be a humding, I'm sure, and that's why they've moved it for the telly. But obviously Rotherham have had a bit of a sticky start themselves. Yeah,
our record at Rotherham's poor. I think we won last year in that trophy that we've just talked about. I'm not going to say it again in case I'm wrong. But yeah, we actually beat them there last year. in that competition, Richie Smallwood scored a penalty, and I think we won 1-0. And that was the first time we'd beaten them in absolutely ages. I mean, you go back to sort of 10 years ago when Parky was our manager, and they had Steve Evans the first time, and they always seemed to get the win over us. Even ever since then, we've had some horror shows against Rotherham. I remember going again a few years ago, and Gareth Evans ex-City scored, and I think they beat us 3-0, and he celebrated in front of the City fans. And yeah, our record there's poor, but judging by what Rotherham fans are saying at the moment, they're not happy at all. I've been reading, obviously, on the hashtag on X, and I think Matt Hamshaw, their manager at the moment, is getting a bit of stick. And he's obviously, Rotherham are normally, well, they were last year under Evans, expected to do well backed financially, as they have been at League One level before, and they didn't live up to it. And I believe that this season's carried on much in the same vein, to be honest with you. So if we can play like we did last year and like we have done so far this year, we've got every chance of going there and getting a result. I mean, our away form, touch wood, although it's not been great over the last 18 months, has been a little bit better lately. Like I say, our last away game, we won at Cardiff in the league. Obviously, and this depends on a lot of things, but yeah, our form there's not great, but given the way they're playing, we've got to go there full of confidence and see if we can get a result.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's continue then to just looking at the next week's fixtures. Actually, obviously you play on that Thursday, so that's what, a 10-day gap pretty much between that and the Lincoln game. Whilst Lincoln have got Exeter at home next Saturday. Exeter being a perfect little segue into Huddersfield Town, because they were the side that were beaten by the Terriers at St James's Park at the weekend, and just a 1-0 win, Downsy. But a win is a win, and it's on the road. And we said it wasn't going to be an easy place to go, because Exeter never is. For a start, it's a long way to go for both fans and players alike. It's a tight little ground. They're a decent little fan base as well. But you came out with all 3 points.
Yeah, we did. Just because I know Gaz touched on the League Cup game. Obviously, Town got knocked out against Man City, lost 2-0, but we did really well. Phil Foden and Oscar Bob were the players of the night, and it was good to have a cup run. But that was over, and then like I said, we go into the Exeter game. It was a must-win, really, for Grant. Not in terms of to save his job, but it had to be a must-win against a team that had only won 1 game in the last 5, lost another 4, and they've been in terrible form, really. And that the length of the distance is what is always going to be the hard thing. It is a bit of a slog down there. But Town created 22 chances, only 1 on target, and that was the goal. And what a goal it was! If you haven't seen it, it's an unbelievable strike by Leo Castledine in the first half. But it was kind of a missed opportunity to score lots more goals. To be honest, we had various opportunities to try and put the ball in the back of the net, created lots of chances, but just didn't get the final touch to make the scoreline more wider. Exeter could have taken the lead in the first 3 minutes. Don't know how McGuinness has missed his opportunity, and certainly when we come up against Stockport on Saturday, they've got players that will take that sort of opportunity if Town give them up. But overall, it was a good win, a far better performance, particularly after the first 15 minutes when Town started a bit shaky. But yeah, overall it was a much needed 3 points.
How much does Lee Grant need to get the strikers on finishing drills? Because I've just glanced at between the last 2 games in terms of Exeter and Burton Albion, obviously 2 of the bottom half sides in the league, to put it politely. 36 shots, 6 of which have been on target, 1 goal scored across those 2 games. Sounds like Lee Grant needs to be working on some shooting drills.
Yeah, it's not just with the strikers though. So, like for instance, in the Exeter game, Lasse Sorensen had 3 attempts on goal. None of them struck the target. Ben Wiles had 4 attempts on goal. None of them struck the target. So it's not just the number 9s. I think our problem has been in other games creating those chances, where in the last 2 we've created quite a number of opportunities and then not finished them off when we should have. And that's been the disappointment. It was very frustrating after the Burton game, as we spoke about before. It was kind of frustrating after the Exeter game, but because we got the victory and we won and got the 3 points on the board, which was much needed, it was kind of, you could accept it a little bit more. And yeah, so I came away from the game. I didn't obviously go, but I did manage to watch it, thinking, listen, we needed to beat Exeter, who are not a very good team. In my opinion, whether that's disrespectful or not, they're just not a good team. And we did the job and got the points that we needed.
I mean, I guess it's a situation you'd rather have that you're at least creating chances, even if you're not taking them. You'd rather that than be in a position of not creating chances, I suppose. Obviously, this coming midweek, you've got one of those Virtue Motors Trophy games away at Harrogate Town before the league game at the weekend. Do you expect Lee Grant to kind of rotate for the Virtue Motors Trophy game, or do you reckon he'll go a little bit stronger than you would necessarily expect to keep kind of that squad together and hopefully get a positive result on that and use the momentum?
No, I think he'll switch it up for the Harrogate game. He'll play a number of the young lads, I would expect. Cam Ashier, Dan Vost, and probably Jay Sway will come into the side, maybe 1 or 2 others. He'll probably play players that need a few more minutes, such as Gooch, who's come back from injury. Maybe Jack Watmore might get a few minutes if he's looking something like available. And then people like Dion Charles, I expect to play, who's not got a lot of minutes on the pitch. We would have probably played Zeppi Redmond, however, he's now injured and will be for the majority of this season. He's done his knee, which is devastating for the young lad because he's looked quite bright when he's come on in the last few games. Will Alves, again, on loan, and he's had an injury which is going to keep him out for a number of months. So Town are looking at, not like, because we've got one of the strongest squads in the division, but, we are...
Massive squad, massive budget.
No, but genuinely, let's be serious. There's 2 loan players there that have come in and made a good difference to the team, and then now we're without them because they're injured. So that's a bit devastating for those young lads. But yeah, I expect a much changed team. Whether we win or not, who knows? I mean, you just don't know, do you? It's not a priority for me. It'd be nice if we won, but I'm not going to lose my hat over it if we lost. Put it that way.
And then, of course, come Saturday, it's a slightly different looking prospect. Admittedly, a side that maybe haven't started the season. They're not one of the league leaders like I think a lot of us expected them to be towards this stage of the season. Stockport County currently sitting 7th in the table. If I bring that league table up, the full version with the best of the rest included, there we go. As I say, Stockport sitting 7th. We know what Stockport are like. They're a damn good side on their day and capable of beating anyone. It's going to be certainly a tough looking game on the face of it. At the what is it now? The Asu Stadium, is it?
Aku. Listen, I am a bit surprised of how Stockport have started the season. I thought they'd start the season on fire, to be honest, after what was a very successful campaign last year. But they haven't, as the table says there, they played 10. I think it's won 4, drawn 4, and lost 2. They've conceded a number of goals, really, looking at the stats. It's very close between how many they've scored and against. So it's they've had a lot of tight games. The defence is pretty solid. normally, but it's going the other way where sometimes they haven't created the most amount of chances in fixtures, and I think it's going to be a tough game. They're going to be up for it. We need to definitely be up for it because Dave Chandler's a very good manager and they can really hurt teams. I think the midfield battle is going to be so important on Saturday with the likes of Lewis Bate and Oliver Norwood in there for Stockport, and we'll have David Kasumu, Ryan Ledson, and the like battling against them. So it's going to be a really tough fixture. I'm confident, but with a bit of trepidation.
I'm a little bit surprised at how Stockport have done as well. I mean, we played them on a Tuesday night near the start of the season, and they looked really, really good. It was one of those where City probably shithoused it rather than the other way around. Like City have often come up against teams that have done that, and City did it to somebody. Stockport played really, really well, particularly in the first half. They could have had a lot. I think they were 1-0 up at half-time, but they could have been 3 or 4. And then City got 2 quick goals in the second half and turned it around and then defended to see it out. I think they'll come good, Stockport. I think, like Downsy says, they've a lot of quality, especially in that midfield area. They spent £1 million or something, didn't they, on striker in the summer from Peterborough. I don't think he's been starting every week, but they've got enough quality there, like you're saying, given Challoner's history. I think they'll come good. When they do it, it's just when it happens. I think they've only lost twice, haven't they? They've just drawn 4.
Yeah,
I would say
it's a game that they're going to look at, I guess, as because of obviously that 3-point gap between Huddersfield and Stockport. That obviously they'll look at that as a really good way of clawing in a side in a position above them.
Yeah, but I don't think any. You look at that league table, and I know we talked a lot about it. Was it last week or the week before? Look at the sides that are up there in the top. I think you said you had the top 12 up there. None of the what I would call traditional bigger heads who should be at the top of that division haven't sort of got into the straps yet. Town certainly haven't. We've picked up 19 points and we haven't been stellar in any game. Exeter probably was the best performance that we've had this season. But even that, we were shaky for the first 10 minutes. I think Cardiff have looked really good in games, but then they have lost, the odd one and drawn the ones that they've drawn. They haven't looked particularly fantastic. Stockport, Barnsley and Luton are all expected to be up there with Bolton, and none of them sides have particularly been stellar either. Barnsley probably the most impressive, sat in 8th. And then the rest, that are up there have got to be, given great credit for how surprising they've been. Like I said, I think it was last week or the week before, Stevenage had to go down. Lincoln I've been really impressed by, to say you've only bought about 2 players. Bradford, obviously, are the massive surprise package. And even Mansfield down there in 12th are doing a lot better than expected. So it's a really weird division for the first 10 games. It's not how I thought the division was going to shape up, but from a Town point of view, we're in there in 5th. We're hanging on to the top of the table at the moment, and we just need to get into some, really good run of form of games, and sort of turning up against what I would call smaller sides. And showing that why we need to be at the top of the table. That's what I would say.
Is the thing that I think this season, is that a lot of the smaller sides are the ones actually that have started the season better. Because I was just going to point out, Gaz, that you look at the bottom half of the table, and whilst I haven't got the graphic up, I've just got it in front of me now. There's so many sides that I thought would be in and around those playoff places. So, for example, Wigan currently 14th. Plymouth currently 15th. Leyton Orient, who of course made the playoffs last season, 17th. Reading, who are 19th. Both, in fact, all of Rotherham, Blackpool, and Peterborough, I thought would improve on last season, and maybe not all be around there, but certainly be top half sides. I certainly didn't expect Peterborough to have the season they're having, even after last year's bad form. It is a bit of a weird one that when you consider that the likes of obviously Bradford, Lincoln a 3rd, Stevenage a 2nd, the smaller sides or the less fancied ones that you should be beating if you want to win the league, Gaz, they're the ones that are actually doing quite well. And a lot of the bigger sides that you would think would be top half and playoff sniffing aren't at the moment. So do you reckon we're going to see a change at some point where, those at the bottom half are going to try and rise up? And it's just be a case of how long can the likes of Bradford, Stevenage and Lincoln keep going?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Blackpool would do better than they are. I do believe they've got a fair few injuries at the moment, but I have always been wary. I think I said on the preseason pod about Steve Bruce. I wasn't sure how he'd do he had a good impact when he came in last year, but I've never been 100% convinced by him. I thought that Plymouth would do better than they are doing, although again, Tom Cleverley still has a lot to prove to me as a manager. But they had a bad start and then they won a couple of games and you thought, right, they're going to get going now. And they just haven't done. Wigan, I thought, would do better under Ryan Lowe. I think that especially when I was reading their fans in the summer saying they need to improve up front. And then they went and got Paul Mullin and Dara Costello. And you thought that looks like on paper, looks like a decent partnership. But they've not really hit the straps yet, like Downsy said. I think from a Huddersfield point of view, you've got to say that Townley's saying they've not hit the straps yet. Well, they're doing a lot better than those other fancy teams. To say they've not hit the straps and they're still fifth and they're just short of 2 points a game, you've got to look at those other teams that were fancied to do well and say, well, we're doing a lot better than them. And if we've not got going yet, then when we do get going, you know what I mean? We could really kick on.
Absolutely, guys. I agree with you. You take the average of I think we're 1.8 something points per game or something like that at the minute. You're looking at 88 points at the end of the year if that trend continues. Well, 88 points normally has you in and around third to fourth in the league, if not going up. Obviously, a couple of seasons ago when Plymouth and Sheff Wednesday went up, that it was a mad season, wasn't it? When they were like 96 points or something daft. But that was definitely an outlying season. I just think from a Town point of view, I've watched nearly every game now this year, home and away, whether it's going or managed to get a stream. And we haven't played that well, but we've managed to somehow get results or, draw teams or whatever. I think from a Bradford point of view, I think what's been amazing about City is the momentum, and you've done it with players being injured. I think that's been so impressive. And like you said earlier, the one thing that I hope that doesn't happen with City is if and when you go through a bad spell, those people that are still, I still speak to some City fans and they're still not made their mind up with Alexander. Like, as soon as you lose a couple, I know that these certain City fans will be on Alexander's back. And end of the day, like you've said, you need to remember where you've come from and how well you're actually doing now, because it's been an amazing start. I think the same for Lincoln. I had Lincoln near the bottom of the table, not going down by any stretch, but I did have you lower than what you'd finished because of the transfer business that you'd done. And I just think, like I said, it's a bit of a weird season. I don't think I expected Bolton to be doing a lot better with Schumacher, and they haven't really got going yet. And I watched their game against Stockport on the opening day, and they looked really good.
Their squad is a really weird squad. It's a strange one because I think Schumacher's a very good manager, but I look at their squad now compared to the squad they had like last year and the year before, and I don't think it looks anywhere near as strong as it was a couple of seasons ago. I really don't.
The first 11 is very good for this league. It's got a lot of pace in that first 11.
Yeah, but you need a lot more than pace at League One level. I think that's the thing.
Yeah, I know that.
One of the reasons why why they haven't started so well is why they are 14th. I think they are still finding the peaks, and I know they took Wigan apart in their derby a week or two ago. But yeah, for example, take Saturday as an example. We lost 2-0 away at Northampton Town, and again, that's a Northampton Town side that we all expected to be bottom four, with the greatest of respect to them.
Although I was looking at the form table earlier, Northampton are top of the form table right now. It's really, really odd. What I will say about City is, and I've mentioned it before, and I don't know if there were Leeds fans or Town fans sort of scoffed when I said it last year. The thing with City is, and we saw it under Parkinson, when City get going, we can be difficult to stop when we get rolling. There is a lot of momentum that builds behind us. But Downs is right, and I alluded to it earlier. I think most people are convinced by Alexander now. But what I have said and what it does happen at City is it does get toxic very, very quickly. And it can turn just as quickly as it turned the other way. So we've just got to, like I said, that's why it's worth bearing in mind. What I did notice when you had that table up there, Chris, is that City and Lincoln are the 2 top scorers in the division, which is a bit of a surprise. And I didn't know that.
How mad is that?
Yeah, especially to say that you don't play with the football. I think, look, the two teams, and I don't know what you guys think. I know we're going off on a really League One tangent here, but like Peterborough and Rotherham are terrible, absolutely terrible sides. And to say, I thought Peterborough would do poorly this year. Although saying that, they normally, if they have a good season, they normally score about 1,000 goals and get promoted. But when they have a poor season, they really have a poor season. But I don't see Rotherham coming back up anytime soon because that club is in a mess. A real mess.
It's one of them. They appointed from within with Matt Hampshire. And to be fair, I used to love Matt Hampshire as a player. He was a cracking player back in his day at Sheffield Wednesday, Mansfield, etc. And he's done quite well, I think, in the youth coaching ranks at Rotherham and possibly elsewhere as well. But it seemed at the time, because he was the caretaker at the back end of last season, and I did see some Rotherham fans in the summer say it's the cheap appointment. It's not the right one. It's just a cheap one.
I just
hope, okay.
Given our record there and what you lads have just said, let's hope they continue being shit on Thursday because you lads having said that, like I say, on our record there makes me worried that they're going to suddenly turn it on Thursday.
You see that?
That's the League One form table over the last 6 games, by the way. You got me quickly searching for it then, Gaz, when we were talking about Northampton, and you can see they are in good form. But look at that, Cardiff, Bradford and Stevenage, all 13 points from the last 6 games. Lincoln, Plymouth. And actually, it's interesting, Plymouth, because obviously we said that at a bad start. They put 4 past Burton Albion at the weekend, which not every club can do. And look at them now. They are finding some form, Plymouth Argyle, to climb that table back up a bit, but still a long way off where we expected.
Yeah, I think Tom Cleverley is a decent manager myself. And I think he'll have a decent Football League career as a manager. Whether he'll ever reach the highs of like Premier League level, who knows? But I think he's got a sound head, hasn't he? He says all the right things. He's been there and done it in the Football League, so it's not like he's this massive Premier League star that's going in to manage a minnow. He actually knows what he's doing because he's been there and played in the Football League. I think what's really interesting is that we just talked about Rotherham and they had Matty Hampshire at the end of last season. We obviously had Johnny Worthington, and that relationship didn't go as well as what people were hoping. So we made the decision that we were going to swap to Grant. I think there's a lot. You look around the division, and what's really good at League One level compared to the rest of the Football League actually is that there's a lot of young British head coaches in League One. And I think that's really good for the game because they can sort of stamp their authority and work hard at not maybe at some clubs that haven't got the pressure on them as much. Obviously, I'm saying that, and ironically, Grant has got a lot of pressure on him at town.
The pressure and the resources. We'll use Skibala as a better example. Up and coming young English coach, doesn't have the resources, doing brilliantly at Lincoln. Nice one.
Yeah. Exactly. But there's loads of them, isn't there? There's Ryan Lowe's not old, Schumacher's not old. I know they've been there and done it a little bit more, but the League One's a really good division. It's fascinating. I think the table. I don't know.
You've got to include Alex Ravel as well, and I couldn't stand him as a player. To be honest, I used to hate when he was up against us as a player. But again, he was seen as a cheap option when obviously because he succeeded Evans when he left Stevenage. And again, Stevenage fans looked at it and thought, well, he's one of our own in terms of his play for the club for a number of years, etc. But it was quite a cheap option. But actually, given the time, look at the job he's done. Is frankly bonkers with a budget like Stevenage's.
Oh yeah, it's mad. I mean, he's got my favourite FIFA player up there in Reed, but I think also, like, look at Wickham. They've just appointed Michael Duff, obviously, and that could be a really interesting appointment. He won his first 2 games, I think, and then lost at the weekend. So there's lots and lots of storylines, and I don't know what Gaz thinks, but I think the table may look slightly differently after the next 10 games to what it does now. And if it doesn't, that will make things really interesting.
Yeah, I hope for mine and Gaz's sake that it really, really doesn't look any different. Apart from maybe Bradford and Lincoln top 2. Yeah, if we keep Lincoln and Bradford top 2, we'll be happy. Yeah, Gaz?
Yeah, absolutely. Me and you definitely don't want it to change. I hope it continues as just as it has been doing, and we'll be more than happy, won't we? What we'll say is Tom Cleverley's a Bradford lad. He was in the Bradford youth team as a kid, and I believe he's a Bradford City fan before he went to Man United. I wonder if he'll rock up at City again at some point. You never know.
I can't believe he didn't really play for you, to be honest. Like, on his way back down,
Yeah, he retired relatively early, didn't he? But United took him when he was very young. He wasn't. It's similar to where Leeds took Delph and Liverpool took Andre Wisdom. They all left when they were really young.
He has got a Bradfordian accent, which makes it mad that he's Plymouth manager. He's like a duck out of water down there.
He's a City fan as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair to say he's never lost his accent as Tom Cleverley. Let's kind of wrap up then with League One. Let's turn our attention to the non-league scene, and we're going to watch a short video roundup that Lou has done for us a little bit earlier on this evening. So this is Lewis and his non-league roundup for the last week in non-league.
Hi everyone, it's Lewis here for the West Yorkshire Football Show. Thanks for tuning in to the episode tonight with the guys. We massively appreciate all your support. I'll be just doing a quick recap of some of the action across non-league in our region, beginning with FC Halifax Town, who are unbeaten in 5 league games, which is a magnificent achievement for Adam Lakeland's side, considering they've pretty much changed the whole squad, a new man and coaching staff in the dugout, and that's 3 league wins on the bounce as well, and that was backed up with the recent 4-2 victory against Aldershot Town, who, despite scoring a consolation goal, were never really in that one to pick up the 3 points. It's fair to say FC Halifax Town are climbing that league ladder, and they're surprising a few people with how they're going about the business, and we all know what they're capable of doing in a National League, having been in the playoffs in recent years, so hopefully the momentum keeps on going down there at the Shea. Just to go into the MPL Prem, Guiseley drew 0-0 at Lancaster City, and I don't think that's a bad result at all for the Lions. Struggled to find a bit of consistency in recent months, really need to get a good run of form, and I think this could be the foundation for Bauer and Boschel's men to kickstart their campaign. Around mid-table at the moment, yes, it's early doors in the season, and you're never going to win the league at this stage, but I think this could really be the base for them to kick on and get a few victories under the belt. In the MPL East, well, 2 teams flew the flag for our region. Ossett United, led by James Warshaw, who just had to get his boots back on, doesn't he? Just can't keep away from the green turf. So actually his side won 1-0 away at Newton Aycliffe, and Brighouse Town picked up a 2-0 victory against Bishop Auckland, a really, really good victory for Grant Black's men. Watching Danny Frost's social media at the weekend, fair to say that dressing room were buzzing, and that's a real big victory against the Bishops, who have struggled so far this season in the MPL East. Some of the other teams across the division as well, in terms of the 2 clubs at the top of the table who've been unbeaten in the league so far, remain unbeaten. Finished Bridlington Town 0, Bradford Park Avenue 0. Emily drew 3-3 against Concert. North Ferriby defeated Gareth Town by 2-0, and Silsden suffered an agonising late loss at Ashington. In terms of the Counties League, just to round up some of the action there, the standout result for me was Route 1 Rovers picking up a 7-0 victory. And Zach Khan just keeps on scoring. Top goal scoring in that league is absolutely flying. And also in the Prem as well, Liversidge picked up a really impressive 3-0 victory against Tadcaster Albion. Taddy, led by Ryan Qualt, who's familiar across our region, is now in charge of Taddy. Couldn't really complain about the defeat. 3-0 loss to Danny Forrest men. Anthony Brown scoring the goals again down there at Claiborne, and you feel that Liversidge is definitely going to be up there at thereabouts at the end of the season, and that victory underlines their intentions for rest of the season. And in the Northwest, unfortunately, Steeton suffered a 2-1 loss to Thornton Cleverley. So with that, that's me done for tonight. I'll be back shortly. Don't forget, we'll be keeping updated across our socials with the fixtures and results. And also don't forget to give us a follow and, as mentioned before, give us a like and subscribe across our channels. That's me done for the evening. Back to you guys.
There we go. That's Lewis with his non-league roundup and a few bits really to kind of pick out of that, I guess. Starting with FC Halifax Town, their win at the weekend keeps up their good run of form. That, as I say, 5 unbeaten now they are under Adam Lakeland, and having had that sticky start to the season, the league table with them there in 9th at the moment puts them back into basically quite a familiar sort of territory, really, Steve, as a side that have obviously made the playoffs in the last 3 seasons. But we didn't necessarily expect them to be at this sort of playoff chasing stage this quickly under Adam Lakeland after, the change in management, the change of backroom staff, and most importantly, I guess, quite a heavy change of squad over the summer.
Yeah, I think, when we had Dave on a couple of weeks ago, I think it was at 17th or something, and I kind of made the comment, is this looking really bad? And Dave was Dave was Dave, wasn't he? And he was kind of relaxed about it in some sense. And he kind of thought, said, well, things will find their feet. And that's what they've done. They've got themselves up to 9th and with that good run. The thing for Halifax I should say, before Dave comments in, is, can they keep it going? Look at the sides up there. There's a lot of big sides, isn't there? And I know Halifax are a good sized club, but it's quite a strong non-league National League this year, isn't it? And there's some clubs there that have spent a good chunk of money. So if Halifax can end the season with them being in this sort of position with a chance to sneak into that 7th or 6th position, I think they'll be really happy with that, particularly for Lakeland's first season in charge, to be honest. The one pick out there that's not Halifax that I would say is a little bit of a surprise, and you might tell me different, Chris, because I know you like more of this, is York City. I think York have been slightly, not as prolific as what I thought it was going to be. And actually on Wednesday night, just to let you know, lads, I'm going to watch York v Scunthorpe. So it should be an interesting game, that one.
Yeah, that'll be a very interesting game, especially given obviously that'll be 5th versus 6th as well. To be fair to York, they started slowly, changed the manager, brought in Stuart Maynard, but last week they put 5 past Carlisle United, and then got a good 1-1 draw on Saturday away at Forest Green in the late kickoff. So York are starting to find form, which worries me, because Rochdale, obviously, when we're working for Rochdale, have been drawn against them in the 4th qualifying round of the FA Cup on October the 11th, and then go to play York in the league about a month or so later. So, yeah, York are hitting form at just the right time, I guess, for them at the moment.
Lovely to see Dale up there, I have to say. I not just because you work for him. I've got a few friends that are Rochdale fans, and nice to see Dale up there, I have to say.
I'm a little bit... Go on, Chris.
Go on. No, I was just going to say, Rochdale were away at Carlisle. Obviously, Mark Hughes' Carlisle, that is. And I had the pleasure of sharing the press room with Mark Hughes afterwards. And he was, to be fair, actually, he was quite honest, because honestly, Rochdale could have been 6-0 up at half time. Carlisle were absolutely woeful. And obviously, you know, Gareth, from recent years, that crowd at Brunton Park can be quite vociferous, to say the least. They can be quite an angry bunch. And they were fuming.
We've had a few.
As soon as Dale went ahead in that game, they were absolutely raging. It just didn't stop. With the players, at Hughes, at everyone.
We've had a few Carlisle fans asking about Hughes, and I think what's happening there is very similar to what happened at City, and he will. It's funny because when he was up in the Premier League, he played a lot more, shall we say, intense attacking direct football, and it's as though he's tried to reinvent himself a little bit. Now he's been out of work and dropped down the leagues, and it's very sort of possession based, and we just got fed up of seeing him knocking the ball around between the centre halves, and Carlisle fans have literally been saying that's what's been happening at Carlisle.
That's what
as you mentioned, they got thumped at York, and then they've got beat at home by Rochdale. It's just a little bit worrying what's going on there for Carlisle fans. I'm a little bit surprised at Halifax at how they've turned it around actually after the tough start they had to the season. That, as you say, is it unbeaten in 5 now? Level on points with the playoffs, which is where they tend to be or have been over the last few years under Millington. It's a shame Dave's not on here actually to tell us how well they've been doing. But a little test for them. I've just been looking at their next few fixtures, and I think in the next 5 or 6 they've got Rochdale next, and then they've got a bit of a gap, but then they have York and Carlisle. So whether they can keep that run going remains to be seen. But if they do, then all credit to them, and they can be pushing for the playoffs again.
It's these sorts of games, and kind of to be fair, the way that we've been looking at it from a Rochdale kind of perspective is like the run that they've been on. They were supposed to play Southend, obviously around the playoffs, but that was postponed. Then they've got Carlisle, obviously on Saturday, they won 2-0. The fact that they've got Halifax midweek, and then we go to Forest Green. It's these sorts of games that all the sides in that top 7, 8, 9 at the moment, when it comes to playing each other, are all looking at and thinking, right, well, these are the sorts of games that will tell us whether we're going to be a playoff side or not. Or if you come through it with flying colours and get, 9 points out of 3 games, whether actually you can do better than that. So it'll be very, very interesting. Just want to bring up as well the Northern Premier League East table, because there is a heck of a lot of sides in our region in the division, and this is how it stands so far. So it's a bit of a complicated table from football web pages. So you've got the first main column is home games, the second is away games, and then to the right is overall. So as you can see, Brad Park Avenue have played 10, won 5, drawn 5, and sit top of the league, 4 points clear of Emily, who again themselves have made a solid start despite 1 or 2 recent changes. And so far, Steve, for the likes of Avenue and Emily, it's going very, very well.
Yeah, I think Avenue, they were looking, weren't they? They wanted to make this season a real statement season with the signings that they've made and the people that they've brought in. Obviously, Lou's very close to behind the scenes head, and I know that you know a lot about what's happening. So I think they wanted to make a statement. Obviously, Emily is a club that I am involved in. There has been some changes, let's put it that way, at the football club. Andrew Payton's just stepped down this week as chairman, and Marcus Pound, who was the vice chairman, has now gone up to chairman, and Andrew stayed on as sort of club president alongside the likes of Andy Hobson. So there's a bit of change behind the scenes. There's been a bit of change in the squad as well. They've had a number of little injuries and things that have kept players out, which I know has frustrated, but they've kind of been up and down with games, to be honest, Chris. And I know that Richard, his big thing this season is they've not created masses of chances whilst being very solid at the back. They haven't scored a lot of goals, and that's something that they definitely want to improve on. So I think it's great to have 2 teams at the top of the division. Obviously, there's lots more in this league that we could touch on. A surprise maybe. I don't know what you think is, Gareth not doing as well as what I thought they might. I think Ossett's doing a lot better than I thought they would, to be honest. And then, you go down to Brighouse, obviously, at the bottom. It's going to be a real struggle for Brighouse, and I can see them, unfortunately, not quite getting out of it this time around. But again, there's lots of teams in this league where you've got the likes of Dunstan. I mean, Dunstan lost in the playoffs last season. They beat Emily, and then they went through to the final and lost again on penalties. And they're 12th in the league table there, and I think a lot of people would have had them to be a lot higher. Concert, who Emily have played recently, they're 7th. They were down in the lower half of the table last season and have done really well. And big spending Matlock, I think a lot of people had them to be title challengers, and they're currently 6th, not playing the best of football.
Yeah, it's still they've got to. It is slightly skewed at this stage, I guess, by sides having games in hand. So, for example, Matlock, they've only played 7, so they have 3 games in hand on the likes of Avenue. I think Dunstan actually have only played 6 so far in the league because of progression in FA Cup competitions and the like. Although I think they did go out of the FA Cup at the 3rd qualifying round stage at the weekend. But yeah, as you say, you kind of look at the other sides. Pontefract 9th, Gareth 11th, Ossett 13th. And then I'll say Brighouse and Silsden are currently the bottom 2. Certainly a difficult start for Silsden. And they were, devastated. They had a man sent off late on in their game at Ashington at the weekend, and then ended up conceding, I think, in the 91st minute to come to a 2-1 defeat. So, yeah, it's a difficult start of the season for the likes of Brig and Silsden, but let's hope they can turn things around in due course. There are some fixtures tomorrow night as well. Breath Park Avenue, they take on Ashington at the Horsefall. Elsewhere, Garforth hosts Newton Aycliffe tomorrow night, and Silsden have got quite a big-looking game against Hallam, who sit just 3 places above them, both inside the bottom 4.
I think I think I didn't touch on Silsden. I think they're quite surprised. A lot of people are a bit surprised that they were going to do a lot better, weren't they? After the promotion last season, I think they were hoping to. No, I'm not saying doing what Emily did or anything like that, but I think there were a lot of people were expecting them to be, mid-table.
Step up, I think. I've spoken to Cav and myself and Lewis have spoken to a couple of times over the course of the season so far, and I think it's one of those where last season they were seen as one of the bigger hitters in the Northern Counties East League, and this season they've become a smaller fish in a much bigger pond sort of thing. And even on the budget front, I don't think they're kind of probably one of the bottom end budgets in this league after having one of the higher ones in the league below last season. So it's one of those, money only gets you so far, I guess. And obviously when you go into this bigger pool, and obviously it's great for the club, it's the highest they've been at in the history, and it takes time. Look, I think at this stage right now, if you would say to Silsden that you finish the season 1 place with the relegation down, they'd probably snap your hand off and use it as a platform to build for next season. And finally, the one other thing I want to touch on non-league team, which I've not got the graphic of, as Lou mentioned in his roundup, is a 7-0 win for Route 1 Rovers in the Northern Counties East League First Division. Zach Khan got 4 goals in that 7-0 win. Route 1 Rovers sitting 8th in the league, which despite the fact that Zach Khan is currently sitting on 22 goals in 22 games so far this season, 19, I think it is in the league, 19 goals in the league and 3 in the Cups. I think actually I might have got that wrong. I think it might well be, it might be less games. Sorry, go on, Steve.
I'll just say, I hope Town sign him up. We need a number 9. We haven't got enough of them. Get him in.
So it's 19 goals in. Yeah, let me have a look. 19 goals in the league, 14 at home and 5 away. And overall, he is 11 goals clear of Jamie Justin at Durham District, and then Ash Flynn and Nathan Perks on 10 goals each. So he's 11 goals clear. I've got the number of games a little bit wrong there, though, actually, I think. He's done it in a lot less games than I've just suggested. Route 1 already played 12 league games. So he's got 19 goals in 12 league games.
He ain't going to be there much longer, is he? He's going to get a move up the pyramid if he keeps playing like that.
You would think so, wouldn't you? It's a strange one because he was at Route 1, and let me think, the year before last, then at the start of last season, he joined Campion, started okay. I think he got a few goals in the first half of a dozen games or so, but then it didn't quite pan out. He's gone back to Route 1 and hasn't looked back. It's a real example of being, I think, like in a really comfortable environment where he's really enjoying his football and obviously doing the business on the pitch. But you would think that certainly sides in higher divisions will certainly be looking, because you can't look at 22 goals already at this stage of the season and ignore it, really, can you?
No. Nope. I remember when Ash Flynn scored like 70-odd goals at Emily in 1 year. And he was talked about getting a Football League move, and it was like mad. And that was like maybe 10 plus years ago. So he can't, like, it can happen. Like these, I don't know how old he is. Like if he's only a young kid, he definitely will get snapped up.
Give or take, I think roughly, without doing him a disservice, I think he's around 22, 23-year-old.
Yeah,
it does happen. It does happen because City did it with Ross Hanna going back sort of 15 years or so. They took Ross Hanna from Matlock, and his record at the time down it just reminded me then actually, because obviously Matlock are in that division you just had up. He had a hell of a record, and he had a lot of league clubs coming in for him, and he actually rocked up at City. He didn't really work out for him at City. He only scored a couple of goals, but then it was when we were in League Two, and he dropped down into the conference and did reasonably well at Halifax in the conference, and I think he played for Guiseley as well, didn't he, Chris?
I remember being at Chester at one point, and I think he
might have been Chester. Let me double check. Yeah, he dropped to the conference and had a career, because obviously he'd come a long way up to League Two and didn't quite hit the straps in League Two. Finished sort of only got a couple of goals for us, but then dropped out of the conference and had a career at conference level. So
you see, I mean, at the end of the day as well, everyone obviously looks to the obvious in Jamie Vardy as that non-league striker that kind of came through and came good. But you even look at this summer just gone, and Jake Tabor. The lad that scored like 147 goals in like the last 2 or 3 seasons at non-league, that signed for Swindon Town in the summer, like rejected like multiple clubs, signed for Swindon. I think he's gone out on loan actually to Bath City in the last couple of weeks or so. But still, it's that kind of that rise, isn't it? When if you score goals, people will notice you.
Yeah, I'm wrong. It wasn't Guiseley. He went to Halifax and did well, and then he went to Grimsby when Grimsby were in the conference and had a decent career with them in the conference. And then, like you said, Chester. So he was knocking around at the top end of the non-league scene, having got that move up to us, and just dropped down another level and had a career there. So it happens.
Look at Jesse. Is it Jesse Deborah at Halifax?
Number one. Is he at Port Vale? Yeah.
Playing in League One outside and you look at sides as well in League Two, especially now, like Accrington. I think in recent years have basically supplemented their squad, because obviously they haven't got a massive amount of money and budgets, but in the last couple of years they've been supplementing the squad as well as best they can with players from non-league football. Everybody's still looking for that talent, aren't they?
And sometimes
Peterborough are the masters at it, picking a diamond out of non-league and turning them into a football league talent. Peterborough's been doing it for about 10 years.
This seems to be where they've come a little bit unstuck though, I think, because they did that at the start of last season. They picked up the likes of Chris Clark. They picked up George Nevitt, who, to be fair, is a really promising young centre-half, but he's still very young. And there was I think 3 or 4, if not 4 or 5.
You can't get them all right, though, can you? That's the thing. You can't.
That's where they seem to have maybe run out of luck, shall we say, with picking the ones from non-league this time round.
And some will go even higher. I mean, you mentioned Accrington there. They have done it. They signed a couple of lads, and sort of, I think it was last summer from the same. They signed a strike force, Mooney, and somebody else from the same club. They both came from the same. Basically, took both strikers.
They took Jimmy Spencer, and they took they didn't. They took Jimmy Knowles. And the other lad whose name eludes me, I think from Boston. I think they were both at
Boston. That was it, mate. Yeah, Boston. But you look at what they've done, and some of them will go even higher. I mean, they took Colby Bishop and they took Dion Charles, both from non-league. And look what happened to that. Look what happened to they sold them, ended up signing them on for big money.
Yeah. The pair of us then were trying to spit out the same names just quickly enough, Ben, in Colby Bishop and Dion Charles again, because they took Dion Charles from Southport. I think off the top of my head, when he was doing well there and then turned into a league striker. And then Colby Bishop's gone on to be an excellent player for Portsmouth. So
and obviously made money on them both.
He's done a bit better as Colby Bishop at Pompey than what Dion Charles is currently doing at Huddersfield. But
well, Colby Bishop, they took him from Leamington. They took Colby Bishop from Leamington. Dion Charles came from Southport. Obviously, sold him on to Bolton, where he did reasonably well and got good money for him. And Colby Bishop sold on to Portsmouth, where they got over $1 million for Bishop, didn't they?
Don't you think this is the great thing though about our football system? Like you can pluck a player from anywhere, and they just rise up the divisions. And I think it's brilliant, mate. That's why I love British football. I just think we have the best pyramid in the world, and we've got to do everything to defend it, really.
Absolutely. Let's finish up then for a few minutes by going from the bottom of the pyramid as we've been looking at the non-league scene to the top, and for Leeds United at the weekend. Now, I know Jay and Brownie will want me to promote the fact that they did a match review over the weekend. They'll be doing a preview show, no doubt, in the next couple of days or so, looking ahead to the weekend's games. But for them, Gaz, I'll start with you on this. A 2-2 draw against Andoni Iraiola's Bournemouth, who have had a really, really strong start to the season. On the face of it, a point seems reasonable. I'll be honest. I've not even seen the match today highlights of that game, to be honest. But on the face of it, I'll say seems a good result. But I know from what Steve and Jay have been saying, they seem disappointed not to come away with the win.
Yeah, it's the second time they've done it, haven't they? Conceded late to drop points. Obviously, they did it at Fulham, and then it happened to them against Bournemouth. But like you say, given the start that Bournemouth have made, I think before the game, Leeds fans would have taken a point, just given how well Bournemouth have started the season. As you say, Jay and Brownie both said that Leeds were arguably the better side for large parts of that game, which is a really good sign for them that they can do that against the Bournemouth side that started so well. I know that Iraola came out afterwards and was full of praise for the Leeds team and the way that they played. So, yeah, it's positive for them, despite conceding that late goal for the second time in a couple of weeks and dropping points. Like I say, point on the board against Bournemouth and the way they played and the way that people are talking about them after the game. You got to take the positives out of it.
Steve?
Yeah, I think, they arguably could have won it. With Calvert-Lewin, he had a couple of chances, but obviously he's not a finisher, is he, as we well know. So, and they had one or two other opportunities from the highlights that I saw on Match of the Day. They did look the better team, and that's really credit to them. I think the home form is going to be massive. To get a 2-2 draw is, as Gaz says, no bad result against what I believe is one of the best managers in the Premier League, and I can't believe he's not left Bournemouth yet. To be honest, and not managing a top club such as what Frank has moved on from Brentford. And yeah, if Leeds keep doing that, I don't see why they shouldn't stay up. And all Leeds fans have got to be bothered about is themselves and not bothered about any other team, which some obviously Leeds content creators are. They're a bit worried about other teams, but for me, you've just got to concentrate on yourself. You've got a good enough team there. You just don't have to try and not make mistakes like Tanaka, did the weekend where he just got caught on the ball for one of the goals. And Bournemouth do have quality, don't they? Where they made it pay with Semenyo and the like. So good point for Leeds. Move on, and move on to the next match.
You bag on down, so they need to stop worrying about Sunderland and look at this and just concentrate on what they're doing, because they're doing absolutely fine. And your likes of West Ham and Wolves are going to be in trouble, probably more so than them and Sunderland. So stop worrying about Sunderland and enjoy what you're doing at the moment, because you're doing all right.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't know why we had non-league up there and not the Premier League.
Yeah, but the wrong. I've just imported the wrong table.
It was the wrong North East team, Chris.
There we go.
There we are. You see, look at the top of the.
You look at it so far, and the fact that Leeds have played 6, won 2, drawn 2, lost 2, straight down the middle, kind of sitting fairly well. As I say, it's a weird start to the season. It's a weird table, and obviously at the moment on the Monday Night Football, Everton are playing West Ham, and Everton are a goal to the good. At half time, yeah, a belting header. I think it was Michael Keane. But yeah, it's a weird looking table in the sense that Burnley, to their credit, whilst they are in the bottom 3, haven't necessarily entirely played like it so far, and they've had some tough games, obviously with pushing Liverpool all the way, and then obviously having to take their annual meeting with Man City, conceding 5 goals at the weekend.
The thing is, mate, you look at Man United there, and I know I've said it on the podcast and the other week, and Jay brought it up in the group chat. Man United, the 2 games that they've won, really, they were very, very fortunate to win both of those 2 games. What happened against Burnley, very, very debatable penalty, and then obviously the Chelsea game where they played against 10 men for so long. So, yeah. I think that's a one to watch, especially.
I mean, look at the table there, right? So Wolves are dead and buried. they're going down on Wolves. They're rubbish. I mean, I'll be amazed if they even get to Town's point tally of 16, to be honest. They're just not a good team. West Ham will get sorted by Nuno now, who's obviously gone there. Burnley, as you've said, Chris, and it's right to point it out, they've played, quite well in a number of games. I think Forest need to be worried, to be honest, which will delight me no end. Villa will get sorted out with Unai Emery. Newcastle, of course. I agree, guys. Man United are in big trouble, but there was reports today that apparently Man United will not sack Amorim until 1st of November, because then they don't have to pay him $8 million, which is madness. Brentford are doing better than what I expected them to do. So yeah, like I said earlier, Leeds don't need to be worried about anybody. They just need to keep doing what they're doing, and they are a good enough side to stay up. But there's a lot of teams in that division that I expect to rise slightly, and there's one or two like Man United that I think should definitely be looking over the shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at like I said, the 2 games that they won, United, and I think how fortunate were they in both of those games to win those games. They could easily have 4 points less than they have, easily.
If Forest and Man United went down, that'd be terrific. I wouldn't even mind Leeds staying up. Wouldn't even bother me. It'd be great to see Man United in 2nd division, wouldn't it? Amorim turning up to somewhere like Blackburn Rovers. Be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Bradford City next year, mate.
All right, yeah. Don't get too big-headed, guys.
Lincoln City and Bradford City.
What about Town? Are we not going off in the playoffs at least?
Yeah, but you were in Premier League not long ago, so that's not that big of a drop.
You'll be playing Colchester United when they get promoted from League Two.
Colchester, lovely.
I mean, yeah, it's certainly what the thing is as well, though, is for some sides to rise, that obviously means that others have to fall. And you look at the top 6 now: Liverpool and Arsenal. And then Palace, Spurs, Sunderland, and Bournemouth making the top 6 is absolutely mad. Like, yeah, it's been a hell of a start to the season for the likes of Sunderland, without a doubt. As I say, Jay, say again.
I think Brighton will start to slide a little bit. Palace will, and obviously, I think just naturally Sunderland will, to be fair.
It's
Is Arthur? Who's Arthur?
Let's
okay.
Yeah, let's wrap that up anyway. I think we're going to wrap it up anyway. Oh, here we go. This is going to be Brownie, isn't it?
Right, cool. Thanks for that.